Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating, a project that's not just building something new, but it's like fundamentally rethinking how trust and security work online. You sent over a great bunch of sources all about this concept called restaking and a platform that started as EigenLayer, but now, well, now it's EigenCloud. So our mission today, cut through the jargon, really get to the heart of what EigenCloud is, why it's important, and what this whole verifiable cloud thing actually means for you. Get ready for some aha moments, I think. This could genuinely reshape things.
Indeed. This deep dive is going to show how one core innovation is trying to tackle a really widespread problem, something we see across the entire Web3 space and honestly, maybe even beyond.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Before EigenCloud came along, what was the big headache? Like in the decentralized world, what problem were they actually trying to fix?
Right. Well, imagine. Imagine if every single new online service, maybe a startup you wanted to trust, had to build its entire security system completely from scratch.
Like their own private security force.
Exactly. Sort of like a new restaurant needing its own police just to make sure the food's safe. That's pretty much what was happening in Web3. Every new decentralized app, think of them as specialized digital services on blockchains. They had to raise just massive amounts of money and then recruit their own network of validators. These are the people who check transactions just to secure themselves. It was incredibly expensive, super inefficient, and often these new services ended up with much weaker security than, say, big established players like Ethereum. It created this fragmented landscape of trust. Everyone was building their own little security silo.
Wow, okay, so every new project building its own security, that sounds like a huge barrier, just stopping innovation right there. So how did EigenLayer or EigenCloud, now how did they propose to fix this? This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It really is. The ingenious core idea is restaking. Think of it like this. Ethereum already has this massive, incredibly secure neighborhood watch. Its huge network of ETH stakers, billions of dollars securing it. So instead of every new business, these actively validated services or AVSs hiring their own small independent security teams, EigenCloud lets them essentially rent a piece of that main Ethereum security force.
Right, it's security.
Yeah, basically. The ETH stakers, the people already securing Ethereum, they let their stake ETH do double duty. It keeps securing Ethereum, and it also secures these new services. And crucially, they earn extra rewards for doing it. It's about creating a market for decentralized trust. Security becomes this shared, rentable resource. Much more accessible, much more efficient.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, sharing the load. But you mentioned the name change, EigenLayer to EigenCloud. Why the rebrand?
Good question. That shift, which became official around July 28, 2025, signals a much bigger ambition. They're moving beyond just shared security. The vision now is to be a full verifiable cloud platform for data, for applications, even for AI. It's a significant expansion of the original idea.
A verifiable cloud, that sounds powerful. But what does that actually mean? I get shared security, renting the guards, basically. But verifiable, how's that different from, say, Amazon's cloud or Google's?
That's the key distinction. Verifiable means you don't just have to trust the cloud provider. Imagine a future where an AI can't lie about the data it processed. Or a digital contract definitely executes exactly as written. Not because a company promises it does, but because there's cryptographic proof. Math. Essentially, that makes it undeniable. EigenCloud aims to use Ethereum's massive trust network to provide that proof for everything running on it. Data, computations, the works.
Wow. Okay, that's a big vision. So you have this shared security enabling this verifiable cloud. But practically speaking, how does the sharing and renting actually work? If, someone listening wanted to participate or just understand the mechanics, break it down for us.
Absolutely. It boils down to a few key roles in the system, and you, the listener, could potentially be one of them. First, you've got the restakers. This could be you if you hold ETH, if you're already staking your Ethereum, or maybe you hold liquid staking tokens, things like Steph or Arth, which are like receipts for your staked ETH. You can deposit these into EigenCloud's smart contracts.
Smart contracts, those self-executing agreements on the blockchain.
Exactly. That deposit acts as your security collateral, your security deposit for these new services, the AVSs. There are a couple ways to do it. Native restaking is for people running their own Ethereum validator nodes, but LST restaking is much easier for most people. You just use those liquid staking tokens. No need to run your own hardware. You're essentially putting your existing investment to work again, earning more yield.
Okay, so I put my staked ETH, or the token representing it, into EigenCloud. It earns more rewards helping secure other projects. Sounds good. But who actually does the security work for these new projects? I'm not running their software, am I?
No, typically not. That's where the operators come in. These are the pros. Professional node runners, companies, or individuals with the tech skills. They register with EigenCloud, and they run the specific software required by the various AVSs. They're the ones doing the actual validation security work. As a restaker, you delegate your restake assets to an operator you trust. It's a kind of double opt-in. Both you and the operator have to agree, like hiring a specialist contractor.
Got it. So I provide the capital, the stake, and I choose an operator I trust to do the work responsibly. And these operators, they're running software for the customers,
Yeah.
the AVSs.
Precisely. The actively validated services, AVS, are the customers here. They are the new projects that need that shared security, and they can be almost anything. We're talking data availability layers like EIGEN, which is EigenCloud's own big AVS, aiming for huge data throughput for other networks. Or oracles that feed real-world data onto the blockchain like EIGEN or OpenLayer. Or bridges connecting different chains like Hyperlane. Even networks doing complex math like ZK proving, Lagrange, aligned layer, those are examples. These AVSs pay the operators for providing security. And those payments, those rewards, eventually flow back down to you, the restaker, for putting up the initial capital.
So it's a whole ecosystem. AVSs pay operators get paid, and some of that goes back to the restakers who delegate it to them. But what keeps the operators honest? What stops them from, I don't know, slacking off or doing something malicious?
That's where programmable slashing comes in. This is really key. Each AVS gets to define its own rules for misbehavior, very specific rules. If an operator fails to follow those rules or deliberately acts maliciously, a portion of the restaked assets they're using your ETH, or maybe the EIGEN token, can be slashed.
Slashed means taken away.
Yes, essentially seized as a penalty, forfeited. It's a powerful economic stick. It makes being dishonest potentially very, very expensive.
Okay, that makes sense. A strong incentive to follow the rules. You mentioned the EIGEN token there. How does that fit in? Isn't the security based on the restaked ETH?
Mostly, yes. Restaked ETH is the primary collateral, and it's used for slashing what we call objectively provable faults. Things you can prove with math and code, like did the operator sign two conflicting messages? That's easy to verify on-chain. But then there's the EIGEN token's unique role. It's designed for something trickier. Intersubjectively provable faults.
Intersubjectively, what's that?
It means things that aren't easy to prove just with code, but that any reasonable group of people would agree are wrong. Think of an oracle, one of those data feeds, suddenly reporting that, I don't know, 1 ETH is worth $1. That's obviously nonsense, right? Yeah, clearly wrong, but maybe hard to write code that automatically detects all possible nonsensical prices beforehand. So EIGEN handles these situations through a kind of social consensus. If there's widespread agreement that an operator using EIGEN collateral acted maliciously in a way that's hard to prove objectively, the EIGEN holder community can vote to fork the token.
Fork it, like create a new version.
Exactly. They create a new version of the EIGEN token where the bad actors' tokens are essentially worthless, while everyone who acted honestly keeps their value in the new, recognized version. It's a community-enforced penalty for subjective failures. Really novel concept.
Wow, okay. That's complex, but also kind of elegant. Using social agreement for things code can't easily catch. So we have restakers, operators, AVSs, slashing, ETH, EIGEN. It's quite the system. Let's bring it back home. For someone listening, maybe holding some ETH, maybe thinking about developing an app, what are the real practical benefits here? Why should you care about all this?
Right, the what's in it for me question. And the benefits are pretty clear across the board. For ETH holders and restakers, potentially the most direct benefit is earning extra income. Your staked ETH, which is already earning rewards, can now earn more rewards by securing these AVSs. Our sources suggest the potential annual returns just from the EIGEN token part could be around maybe 1.8%, and that's on top of your normal ETH staking yield. It makes your capital work harder.
Double dipping on rewards, essentially.
In a way, yes. Plus, you have these liquid restaking tokens, or LRTs, emerging. Things like ETH, ETH. These let you restake, but your capital isn't totally locked up. You get a token back that you can still use in other DeFi applications, other financial services on the blockchain. So you get yield and flexibility.
That flexibility is huge in DeFi. What about the people building things, the developers?
For developers, this is potentially a game changer. It drastically lowers the cost of trust. Remember how hard it was? Building your own security. Forget that. Now, they can tap into Ethereum's massive security pool, which, through EigenCloud, has seen its total value locked, the amount deposited, explode to over 13, maybe even $18 billion recently.
Yes.
Instantly.
$18 billion worth of security on tap.
Pretty much. It lets developers launch much faster, innovate quicker. We're seeing like over 160 AVS projects already being built on this. It's like getting world-class security without the years of effort and millions in funding up front.
It's a huge accelerator. And zooming out, what's the benefit for the whole digital economy?
Well, for the broader digital economy, the idea is it makes the entire Web3 ecosystem more secure, more decentralized, and more flexible. It lays the groundwork for that verifiable cloud we talked about, a place where, AI agents, complex data jobs, sophisticated decentralized apps can all run with an extremely high level of proven trust, backed by Ethereum. It could really solidify Ethereum as the base layer for a more trustworthy internet.
That sounds almost utopian, like a win-win-win. But, things that sound too good to be true often have hidden catches. With something this new, this powerful, there must be risks, right? Complexities we need to be aware of. What are the downsides?
You are absolutely right to ask that. It's crucial. Despite the huge potential, EigenCloud introduces some really significant risks. Some are even unprecedented. The biggest one, the one everyone talks about, is systemic risk to Ethereum itself.
Okay, how so?
Well, think about it. If a huge chunk of all the ETH staked on Ethereum, let's say, hypothetically, over a third, or maybe even half gets restaked into EigenCloud, what happens if EigenCloud has a major problem? A catastrophic bug, a hack. That failure could cascade backwards. It could destabilize Ethereum's own consensus, its own security, because so much of its security value is now also tied up in EigenCloud. It creates this potential single point of failure that could impact the entire foundation.
Right, so EigenCloud's success is great, but if it fails, it could drag Ethereum down with it because they're so intertwined. That's sobering.
It is. It's a major concentration risk. Then there are complex slashing risks. That programmable slashing is innovative, yes, but it's also a double-edged sword. Imagine an error, a bug in the slashing code written by one of the AVSs. It could lead to unintended slashing. Honest operators could lose their funds, your funds, if you delegated to them just because of a coding mistake in the AVS rules.
Ouch. Penalized for someone else's bug.
Exactly. And operators often secure multiple AVSs to maximize rewards. So one mistake, one exploit on one AVS could trigger cascading slashing losses across many services simultaneously, amplifying the damage for the operator and their restakers.
That sounds like a potential domino effect.
It could be. Then there's what people call mercenary capital risk. A lot of that huge TVL, that $13 to $18 billion, it flowed in partly because people expected big stake drops or airdrops free tokens.
Chasing the free money.
Basically, yes. The risk is, once those initial incentives are gone, will this capital stick around? If the actual yields from securing AVSs aren't high enough to justify the risks we just talked about, a lot of that money might just leave. And a sudden drop in TVL means a drop in security for all those AVSs.
So the security level could be volatile, depending on market sentiment and yields?
Potentially, yes. We also see centralization concerns. The goal is decentralization, but early on, there's a slashing veto committee, a centralized group that can stop slashing events. It's meant as a safety net against unfair slashing, but it's a central point of control, even if temporary. There's also the theoretical risk of operator collusion. If a few large operators control a significant amount of stake, could they team up to attack multiple AVSs at once? Especially if the potential profit from the attack is higher than the value of their stake that would get slashed.
That's a worrying thought. Colluding security guards.
It's a theoretical risk, but one to watch. And then, looming over everything is regulatory uncertainty. Restaking, LSTs, LRTs, the EIGEN token itself. These are all very new concepts. Regulators, especially in places like the US, haven't really weighed in definitively. Could they be classified as securities, derivatives, something else? If so, that could bring a whole lot of legal and compliance headaches. EigenLabs, the company, seems aware they geo-blocked US and Canadian users from their first EIGEN airdrop, likely for regulatory reasons.
Yeah, regulation is always the big unknown in crypto.
Definitely. And speaking of the EIGEN token, its untested model is another risk factor. That social consensus forking mechanism for subjective faults. It sounds good on paper, but it hasn't really been battle-tested at scale. Its success depends on the community being strongly aligned, and the EIGEN token having a high enough market value to make the threat of being forked out actually hurt a bad actor. It's a bit of a chicken-egg problem. It needs value to be useful, but it needs to be useful to gain value.
Right, the threat only works if the token is worth something significant.
Precisely. And finally, just on the operational side, we should note the operational challenges and team adjustments. EigenLabs did have a fairly significant staff reduction, about 25% of the team back in July 2025. They framed it as strategic. refocusing on the EigenCloud vision.
But layoffs can sometimes signal instability.
They can raise questions, certainly. And the IGN token price itself has been, well, volatile. It hit a high of over 550 back in December 2024, but also dropped below 70 cents in April 2025. That kind of swing indicates the market is still figuring out its true value and dealing with uncertainty.
Okay, wow, that's a really comprehensive look at both the incredible potential and these very real, complex risks. You've given us a fantastic overview, so let's try and boil it all down. For you listening, what's the one or two sentence takeaway on EigenCloud?
Okay, let's try. EigenCloud is a groundbreaking Ethereum protocol using restaking to let ETH holders reuse their stake to secure many new applications. It's ambitiously aiming to build a verifiable cloud for a decentralized internet, but it's also navigating some serious new territory with risks around systemic stability and, regulatory unknowns.
Perfect summary. And there you have it, our deep dive into EigenCloud, a project really pushing the envelope in the decentralized world. It's ambitious, definitely complex, and could be hugely impactful for how we build, trust, and verify things online in the future. We've gone from fragmented trust to shared security, and maybe, just maybe, towards a verifiable cloud.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how it tries to leverage Ethereum's economic weight to spark this new wave of innovation. But as we discussed, success really hinges on managing those big systemic risks, and proving its utility goes beyond just the initial hype and speculation. It really makes you wonder, can we keep aggregating trust like this without also aggregating new critical points of failure?
This is a great point to quickly pause and remind our listeners of something.
That's right. If you're enjoying how we break down these complex projects into simple pieces and want more reviews just like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel, CryptoBox. We do all the complex research so you don't have to.